Here is lesson 95. It is called Slant Heights of Pyramids and Cones. The definition of slant height is the diagonal distance along the surface from the apex, which is just a funny name for top, to the base, which means bottom of a shape. So we're talking about pyramids and cones today. These are three-dimensional shapes. When we want to find the slant height, we're going to look at a cross section of a pyramid and a cone. When you find the cross section of either a pyramid or a cone, you get an isosceles right triangle. Your book has a better picture than I would be able to draw here really quick. So if you, whoops, sorry about that. If you look at our pyramid here, and here's our cone, we want to find the slant height, right? So if I take my pyramid and I cut it like I was cutting a pyramid-shaped birthday cake, my cross section would look like an isosceles right triangle. The same thing would happen if I had a cone-shaped birthday cake. If I cut a cross section of it, I would get an isosceles right triangle. So here is an example of a cone here. So my height is 12 and my base across is 10 centimeters. So if I cut this birthday cake, I would end up with an isosceles right triangle. So this dashed line is the height, right? Here is my apex and here is my base. So the regular height on the cone was 12 centimeters. I don't know that I can fit that in there. There we go. And I know that my base was 10 centimeters. So if you think about where the height lands, it divides these two, or this bottom piece into two. The whole thing is 10, so each one of these is 5. Now I'm trying to find this length right here. So think to yourself, what kind of triangle do I have? Oh, it's a right triangle. That's a terrible drawing, sorry. It is a right triangle. I know this is 12, I know this is 5, and I need to find the slant height, right? What theorem do I use anytime I'm looking at right triangles? Well, that would be the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. The side opposite from the right angle is always c. That is the hypotenuse. All right, so a squared, we can call it 12. B squared, we'll call it 5 squared, and that equals c squared. So 12 squared is 144, plus 5 squared is 25. That equals c squared. 144 plus 25 is 169. So 169 equals c squared. How do I undo a square? Well, I take the square root of each side. So 13 is my slant height. So my final answer here would be 13 centimeters. I got my centimeters from over here. All right, let's look at a pyramid. It's going to be the exact same thing. So if I have, let's see if I can draw this real quick. You're gonna have to pretend it's a pyramid with me here. All right, 1, 2, 3, and there's a fourth side way back there. All right, let's say we have 15 centimeters here for my height and 10 centimeters here for my base, right? If that was a birthday cake and I cut a cross section out, I would again get an isosceles triangle. Pretend that's even. This whole thing is 10, so each of the bottoms here is going to be 5. And then my height is 15. Again, it's a right triangle, and I'm trying to find my slant height. So if I look at this right triangle by itself, I have 15, 5, and then this is c. Anytime I have a right triangle, I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a is 15, b is 5, and I'm trying to solve for c squared. Well, I don't know what 15 squared is, so let's do the math real quick. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 plus 2 is 7. Placeholder, 1 times 5, 1 times 1. Add them up, we get 225. So 225 plus 5 squared is 25 equals c squared. 225 plus 25 is 250 equals c squared. How do I undo a square? And take the square root of both sides. All right, I don't know what the square root of 250 is off the top of my head, so let's prime factor it. I know 25 times 10 will get me 250. 25 is 5 times 5, and 10 is 5 times 2. These are all prime numbers. So the square root of 250 can be rewritten as the square root of 5 times 5 times 5 times 2. I'm looking for my partners here. The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25. Square root of 5 can't be simplified. Square root 2 can't be simplified. What is the square root of 25? Well, that's 5. Square root of 5 comes along for the ride. Square root of 2 comes along for the ride. I'm multiplying all of these, so my final answer here would be 5 times the square root of 10 centimeters is my slant height. If you would like some additional practice problems, please check out the practice set on page 636 in your textbook.